The email arrives on a Tuesday morning. The subject line says, "Your company is merging with another company." Leadership calls it an exciting opportunity, but anyone who has worked inside a corporation long enough understands the real translation immediately. Two payrolls just became one. Two leadership teams just became one. And somewhere inside that equation, people are about to disappear. Mergers are announced as growth. They are celebrated in press releases and investor calls. But for the people inside those companies, a merger is when two organizations become one, and hundreds of careers quietly vanish in the process. It is a slow, methodical feeding frenzy where the organization consumes its own workforce to satisfy a financial promise made long before anyone asked for their input. Corporate language exists to create distance between the decision and the damage. During a merger, that language works overtime. Synergies means eliminating overlap, which almost always means eliminating people. Streamlining means the org chart is about to shrink. Efficiency means fewer people carrying more weight. Eliminating duplication means one of two teams doing the same work will cease to exist. Unlocking value means extracting savings, and when you follow that logic to its source, you arrive at payroll. Every one of these phrases does the same thing. It transforms layoffs into optimization. It turns job destruction into a line item. It lets executives describe what is happening to real people in language so sanitized it barely registers as human. When two companies combine, they produce duplication across nearly every function. Two HR departments, two finance teams, two marketing divisions, two operations infrastructures, two layers of middle management, two executive hierarchies. The merged entity does not need two of everything. So leadership asks the question that drives the entire post-merger process. Why are we paying for two of everything? That question is not philosophical, it is operational, and the answer almost always involves reducing headcount. A merger is a mass audit of human redundancy. Every role reviewed, every team measured, every function evaluated for whether it can be consolidated, absorbed, or erased. The people inside those roles are not abstractions. They are employees who built careers inside a company that is now deciding whether their position still needs to exist. What most employees never realize is that the layoffs following a merger are not reactive. They are pre-planned, baked into the financial model that justified the deal before it was ever announced. When companies present a merger to investors, they project cost synergies, how much money the combined company will save operating as one instead of two. Labor is one of the largest expenses inside most organizations. That makes payroll reduction one of the easiest levers to pull. The headcount cuts are modeled before the merger is announced. The spreadsheet exists before the town hall. The severance budget is calculated before the CEO steps onto a stage and talks about how excited leadership is about this next chapter. Employees hear optimism. The financial model has already assigned a number to how many of them will be gone within 18 months. The celebration and the elimination are planned in the same quarter. Inside the company, the merger unfolds in stages. First comes celebration, press releases, smiling executives, a narrative built entirely on possibility. Then the freeze. Hiring slows without explanation. Promotions stall. Leadership turns vague. Employees feel the shift before anyone confirms it. Then the mapping. Consultants appear. Org charts placed side by side. Every function compared. Every role weighed against its counterpart. Then selection. Who stays, who goes, decided behind closed doors, often by people who have never met the employees whose futures they are reshaping. Then the layoffs. Restructuring announcements, severance packages, exit interviews, and then the stage nobody talks about in advance, survivor overload. The employees who kept their jobs inherit the workload of the people who didn't. Teams shrink. Output expectations do not. The company gets leaner on paper and heavier in practice. One of the most disorienting moments in a merger is realizing that survival has almost nothing to do with performance. Employees who exceeded expectations and built institutional knowledge can still end up on the wrong side of a restructuring decision. What determines who stays comes down to positioning, political alliances, executive sponsorship, visibility inside the acquiring company, which side of the deal you came from, which office the surviving leadership favors. Mergers expose, with uncomfortable clarity, how much workplace survival is governed by power rather than performance. The employee with a relationship to the new division head outlasts the employee who consistently outperformed them. That is not a failure of logic inside the system. It is the logic of the system. Merit is the story companies tell. Proximity to power is how it actually works. During a merger, employees stop relaxing at work. Every meeting feels like a potential announcement. Every leadership email gets reread twice. Rumors move faster than facts. Nobody believes the reassurance anymore. Managers start avoiding direct questions because they have no answers to give. Employees quietly update resumes, not because they want to leave, but because they no longer trust the ground beneath them. And even among those who survive the cuts, the damage does not end. Remaining employees absorb heavier workloads, watch their teams disintegrate, and lose the institutional knowledge that walked out the door with former colleagues. Underneath it all sits a low-grade fear that another round could come at any time. The company saved money. The people who stayed inherited the cost. For years, leadership talks about the organization as a community, family, loyalty. Our people are our greatest asset. Those phrases show up in town halls, internal emails, and recruiting decks. But when financial restructuring begins, that language evaporates overnight. Employees once called the company's greatest asset are reclassified as cost centers. Loyalty becomes irrelevant when the spreadsheet demands a reduction. The shift is not subtle, and it is not lost on anyone inside the building. A merger reveals the distance between what a company says and what it actually does when the pressure arrives. Culture does not survive contact with a balance sheet that needs to be corrected. It never has. Certain groups are hit first. Middle management gets compressed because consolidating leadership is one of the fastest ways to reduce overhead. Duplicated departments, HR, finance, legal, communications, are natural targets because the overlap is visible and the rationale writes itself. Employees tied to legacy systems find their expertise reclassified as expendable. High-salary workers without political protection become targets because their elimination delivers larger savings per head count. And long tenure, which employees assume provides security, can increase vulnerability, particularly when it comes with a salary the merged entity no longer considers competitive. Years of service do not protect you. Sometimes they price you out. There are signals worth watching. External consultants appearing in meetings that previously involved only internal teams. Hiring freezes without a clear external reason. Leadership using the word efficiency with increasing frequency. Duplicated teams asked to document their processes in unusual detail. Org charts redrawn before any official announcement. These signals do not guarantee layoffs, but they mean the machinery of restructuring is moving, and employees who recognize it early have more time to prepare than those who wait to be told. When a merger is announced, the employees who navigate it best stop listening to the language and start reading the structure. If your role exists in both companies, you are already inside the risk zone. If consultants begin mapping workflows, someone is deciding which team survives. None of this means panic, but it means preparation. Update your resume while the market still sees you as employed, not while you are explaining a gap. Document the projects and results that prove your value in concrete terms, numbers, outcomes, revenue impact, because when decisions are made behind closed doors, your work needs to speak without you in the room. Build relationships beyond your direct manager, because one person's sponsorship is not a safety net, it is a single point of failure. Watch what leadership does, not what they say, and stop assuming that loyalty will protect you. Mergers do not reward dedication, they reward positioning. A merger strips away the narrative layer of a company and exposes its operating logic. Corporations do not reorganize around loyalty, tenure, or cultural promises. They reorganize around financial efficiency. The people who built the company, maintained its systems, and generated its revenue become variables inside an equation designed to deliver a specific financial outcome. Corporate systems do not operate on personal attachment. They operate on structural incentives. And when those incentives shift, when two balance sheets merge into one and the pressure to demonstrate savings begins, the system does exactly what it was designed to do. A merger is the moment a company stops pretending it runs on culture and reminds everyone it runs on math.